This is the Living 1982 podcast. Were you into the punk scene in the very early 80s or someone who discovered the genre along the way? Well, we're doing some deep diving into the Seattle punk scene and sharing the story behind a band that was very short-lived but made a lasting impact with members going on to being in some of the biggest bands in the world. Their debut album was never released back in the day but is finally out now. This is the story of The Living. On today's episode of the Living 1982 podcast, we are joined by the man who picked up a bass guitar for the very first time after being asked to join the Living, Mr. Todd Fleischman. So, were you in any bands before the Living?
No, I never even played the bass. I didn't play any. I didn't even know how to play until I got a bass, and then 2 weeks later, I'm in a band. It was basically that quick.
So that's kind of the best story of any of them.
Yeah.
You know, because you hear of Paul Simonon for the Clash. I don't know. I just wanted to really be in a band, so I got a bass, and 2 weeks later, I was in the band and stuff. And that stuff just doesn't happen to everybody or anybody. But it did happen to you.
Yeah.
Because you were always at shows, and your brother was in
the Crocodiles. And stuff like that. And so he was playing the rockabilly stuff, and which is really cool. And he was kind of in that vein where the Dinette set and Scott McCoy and all that, and Christie and stuff. So they're a little bit older, so it was kind of than I was. So but I still saw all those shows and stuff. And I mean, even seeing like the Refusers and stuff, and that kind of blew my mind, because I'm like, these guys are pretty hardcore,
Right. They were crusty before that was a style of music. They just were crusty.
Exactly. So when we remember the Bird show, that the reunion that was not too long ago, like last year or the year before. So I went to there, and I didn't really I started to grasp there was all these other people like the No Threes and stuff that you were kind of doing at the time. So when I saw all those people, I go, God, okay, all you guys played and you had your own thing. I never went to the Bird when it was happening, so it was kind of a different deal there. So it was, because I think we're a little bit younger and we couldn't even get in, because even when the Living was playing, we had problems playing shows, but that's because we were too young to get into the bars and stuff.
Right. And when we first started, things were a little bit different, and we were you had to be 20. You're supposed to be 21 to play in a bar for sure, but you could get your minor musician permit and play.
I know, what a joke.
But at one point, and I believe it was in 1981, some sort of hammer came down through the liquor control board, and you had to be. They were like, okay, you have to be at least 18 to fill out a minor musician permit to play in a bar. Whereas before, you just show them a thing and they go, okay, just play your show and then get out of there. And it was fine. Nobody was leaning on anybody. And I remember we were doing one show at the Rex. And Richard, our drummer, was 17.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you got your minor musician permit? And it's like, yeah, here you go. It's like, wait, you're not even 18 yet. You have to be 18 to use this form. This is at the club. I'm like, oh, who cares? We played at this club with this drummer 5 times before. Oh, no, you have to be 17. You have to be 18. You're only 17. It's like, we were here 2 weeks ago, at the same thing. Oh, no. It's like, well, we just well, screw you guys then. And so then it got to be harder to even do that.
Yeah.
And it just seems so weird, because you guys were, 17, 18 when the Living.
I was 18. Duff was 17. We played at the Rex. And then I remember we played a show at like the Harvard Exit and some other, there was just some really bizarre places that they don't even exist now. They're not even there.
Right. You're just trying to find places to play, and some of the bar things were working pretty good, and some of them weren't. I mean, there was it was kind of no man's land out there for being in a punk kind of band at that. Even by 1982, you're still poisoned to a lot of.
I know the VAW, the VFW, the one by Queen Anne, I think that we played before. And that was one of our very first shows. We barely even played 4 songs before it interrupted in chaos and everything else. And it's just nuts.
So what was the original Living lineup?
The original lineup was first it would start out with Chris Udding on guitar and Duff was playing drums, and then they would switch after a few songs and Duff would play guitar and Chris would go back and play drums. And then we had and of course Conti was there and he was playing guitar and then I was playing bass. And that was the original thing. But they said that Kim Warnick played bass in the Living like a couple shows or something before me.
Right. And I mean, maybe they did. It seems like I would have remembered that, or somebody would have taken.
I know. Yeah, I know. And I go, I don't remember it. But
I could ask Kim, but she probably wouldn't remember either.
She said one time I heard her say that she thinks she was in that band too, because Chris is, going, I was in that band. I go, yeah, you were in a lot of different bands,
Right. And I definitely saw the Chris and Duff switching off version of the Living a few times.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, and then it just became, a clash of the Titans, the young people, catching up to somebody else, and it got kind of crazy.
But sort of, once Greg Gilmore got into the equation, it just sort of.
That was he elevated the whole game because that guy was probably the best drummer I've ever seen, and and so young, and he came in the first time he came in, he had this enormous kit, and we tried him out. We tried all these drummers out, and they were so terrible. Some of them I was like, wow, I can do that, and I don't even know how to play drums. But then when Greg came in, this guy was talking about King Crimson. I go, I have never even heard of him before. So he was fabulous. He didn't really even know what punk rock was at all. And when he came in, though, he tightened everything up, and he made
And unlike a lot of people who hadn't really been into punk music, he could play fast.
Oh, yeah.
Which is amazing. I mean, that was always the problem trying out drummers, because they might have some chops and stuff, but they're like, to get the snare going as loud as it needs to be and play fast.
And he could fill in all the empty spots of the music, so that changed the whole dynamic. So we were changing, because you weren't just like a young, loud and snotty punk rock band. We were kind of in a different vein, kind of deal. So trying to make our way through the what do you call the frat boy rock of the day that we had, you were like the Cowboys and the Heaters and the Range Hoods and
right. I guess it was in some ways it was frat boy rock, but in some ways it was just sort of the status quo at the time.
Exactly. Yeah, it was probably that's a harsh comment
Yeah, but I mean, it was just, it's sort of when the Cheaters, my first band, started. We were a reaction. I mean, we wanted to be a punk band for sure, but we didn't care what we did. I mean, we as long as we didn't sound like Pioneer Square rock and blues bands,
exactly.
That was fine. We wanted to be, we liked the Ramones and the Damned and the Clash and the and Blue Oyster Cult and the Saints and like all kinds of stuff that was just not, we always like, we start playing a song. It's like, no, that sounds too much like regular rock.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, so I mean, and so I read this one person made an interview going, well, how can they say that the Living was a pioneer of punk rock? It's not really that. It's just that in Seattle at that time, how many punk rock bands could you have named back then, or even anything remotely, punk rock at the time? It really, there wasn't that many, because I don't even know if we were really punk rock or not. It's kind of like we played punk rock. So it's hard to Matt, think about it.
Right. Everybody wants to assign somebody as the first people to do things, or the creators of something. It's like, no, nothing at all like that.
Yeah, I don't even feel.
But
no,
just, and I was talking earlier. It's like 1982 was kind of a pivotal year for a lot of things, in that, the bands that were going, and the bands of ours that were going in 1980, 1981, like you play for a year, you play for 2 years, and it ends up sort of being like you're banging your head against the wall. Nobody was getting out of Seattle. Nobody was going on tour. Nobody was doing anything. We were lucky to be able to go up to Vancouver and play up there. Every couple months we could play a weekend up in Vancouver. We played in 1981. We played more shows in Vancouver than we did in Seattle.
Yeah, no doubt.
It wasn't Seattle. I've got no problem with Seattle as a city, and had a great time here, but it was not great for original, loud, wild music of any sort.
Yeah.
And so everybody's bands were bashing their heads against the wall through 1980, 1981, and then like what was the lineage of Duff's bands? There was the Veins. He was in the Fastbacks for a while. And where did he go to after that?
He could have been Living then, and then 10-Minute Warning, and then
but I mean, before the Living, there was Cleavage.
Yeah, Cleavage, that's right.
And and there's one picture that I remember of Cleavage, and they're wearing their leather jackets and their leather pants and stuff like that. And, everybody was just trying to do something. It's like, oh, that didn't work. Well, I'm starting a new band with these guys. And within the group of like 12 or 15 people, the Deans was Andy Fortier from the Veins, and Udding went to Duff and Udding went
Missing Link and
the Missing Link. Yeah, was John Cotty was in the Missing Link.
Yeah.
Which I was just talking to Johnny Blattenbauer, Johnny Vinyl, about that.
Mr. Vinyl,
Yeah, Johnny Vinyl. And like people would just, and I suppose also, people's patience, like you get frustrated being in a band with this person. It's like, I got to get out of this band. I got to do something else. And you do something else for like 2 months, and then you be back in a band with the same person that, and everybody was just really trying to stir up a scene, trying to go for something.
No doubt.
I think the Living were a perfect example of, a band that like the original Living was pretty punk rock, but also kind of rock and roll.
Yeah.
And then once Greg Gilmore got in it as drums, it actually took off into something that it wasn't before, and something that, you know, like a cohesive musical fist in a way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
you know,
exactly. Because I felt like we were really becoming like a juggernaut. I mean, the shows were great at Monroe's Dance Palace. There was another show at like, God, it had a really
the Roscoe Louis Gallery was our record release show.
Yeah, so
just you know, just amazingly killer.
Yeah, so there was some really great shows, and then I don't know what happened. I mean, it's crazy, man. And then, you know, ending up in the Silly Killers, the second lineup was the funniest thing for me.
So let's see. So did you end up in the Silly Killers when Gary Kluke was the singer?
Yes. So I played bass, and then so that ended up like both those bands, like when the Living was over, I was the last one to know that we weren't a band anymore. I was kind of like going, oh, we're just taking a break. And then next thing you know, Duff's in 10-minute warning, and so is Greg. And I'm going, okay, I guess I got to find another band. And then Gary goes, I was over at your house, and Gary goes, here, why don't you play bass with us? So I go, okay, you know, and Eddie Helitz was gone. So it was like, okay, sure. That was the funniest thing, too.
Always the last person. I just thought I didn't have a practice this week. And then you find out that two of your guys started a new band.
Yeah.
You know, not to make things sound too dramatic or anything.
Yeah, it's like
I mean, that was kind of that. Of course, that kind of thing happened all the time back then.
I know, and that's just kind of like how things kind of work. Because then, when the Silly Killers, all of a sudden we weren't playing anymore, and I had no idea what's going on. And so I tried to get another band going with Scott Dittman, and again that fizzled. But we played a few shows at the Central and stuff, and then
what band was that?
We were called No Tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, No Tomorrow was Carl Bootboy on guitar.
Yes, right? Yeah, exactly. Well, Carl Bootboy, Mr. Barish himself. Yeah, and he did a great job, but he liked MD 2020 too much, so so it was crazy. So I mean, these guys like to drink, man. I was like, yeah, it was fun. They were funny guys.
You know that I was. You know, I was in that crowd in the 80s for sure.
Oh, I know. Well,
you know, we'd go down to Pioneer Square with Dittman and.
Oh yeah, it was just crazy.
It was the 80s for sure.
No doubt, because like it was different. Like playing in Belltown, there wasn't much going on. Then the Gray Door was that kind of a outlet for us.
Right, for sure. Which was ultimately around the corner from our practice place.
Yes, exactly. So it was kind of, and then the Metropolis, I played quite a few shows there, and so that was kind of a fun deal. One time I wore a white fur coat. You know, it was kind
somebody happened to have a camera at that point.
Of course. So they filmed it actually. So that was kind of funny. And because when you're playing with Gary Kluke he's so funny. He was the funniest guy. I mean, he would come up with the strangest things, you know. I mean, one time he sang lyrics that were just something he ripped out of a porno mag and then would read it. And that was the lyrics. So it was like, you're great, Gary. You're so funny.
Yeah, really going the extra mile for him.
Extra mile. And then those remember when people would put their posters up everywhere for the shows?
Mm-hmm.
And so they go around and they were going, okay, you get some powdered milk and you spray it on and then pass it on. They'll never get it off. And it worked. It was crazy. But we had some ones with Pat Benatar on them and stuff. And some people were kind of offended by our some of our posters, but it was funny.
Here's a question. Do you remember when that living recording session was at American Music?
No, I couldn't tell you when.
Obviously, sometime in the middle of 1982, but
yeah,
I like nobody seems to know. I'll be talking to Greg.
Yeah, nobody. I had a cassette of the music, and then I think John had the reels. But I mean, I had a cassette of the music, and I gave it to Greg, and yeah, it was just crazy. And that session was wild because they gave me some hippie bass thing. They go, "Hey, you want to try this thing out?" It was like a fretless bass, and I ended up tossing that and go, "Oh, I'll just play my own bass." And
yeah, how about no?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Tell me about the session, because I mean, I was pretty into recording bands and stuff back then, to a certain extent. And I would have loved to have gone to that session, but like around that, that's why I want to know, trying to figure out when it was. I was like,
because the overdubs and stuff, Duff took his amp and they put him in a different room for a different kind of sound, and he did a bunch of stuff. It was I mean, we practiced in this practice place in Madison Park.
Right. Of course, we practiced there for a little while too. Yeah. In fact, with the elevator
thing, and we're in that shaft, and
yeah, well, it was the worst practice place of all time. For sure.
Quality, for sure.
Yeah, just terrible. But it was somewhere to go, and nobody seemed to care. Remember, like practicing there in the summertime, and the windows are all open and stuff. And fucking shut up there! People yelling at you because you're making way more noise. Even on the street, it was blaring loud.
Oh yeah, for sure. And and I was playing. I had an SVT cab with the Galen Kruger head with 400 watts, and we had it cranked up to 11 at least, so it was so loud. Oh man. One time we were up in Canada in Smiling Buddha, so Randy Rampage borrows my bass, breaks my strings, and so we had to go to some like drums only in Canada looking for bass strings, and it was just nuts, man. it was, and they go, "Your bass was so loud, that's all we could hear." I go, I was playing this amp that Randy Rampage had, and it had folded horns, and I had no idea that you could be next to it, it wouldn't be that loud. So I kept on cranking it up, and it was a wall of sound. It hit the back of the Smiling Buddha and came and like blew my head off. I was like, whoa, it was so loud.
And you're just like, I don't know, I'm just playing it the way he played it. I didn't adjust any knobs.
No, I didn't touch anything. I was like, okay.
It was so loud.
Yeah, it was so funny.
I'll tell you.
Oh man. I mean, you guys played down in Portland, Oregon, didn't you? Because I remember plenty weird shows that were like, all of a sudden I'm down in Portland, and I have no idea where I am, going down there and going to shows and stuff.
Yeah. I remember, like, oh God. I mean, I have a list of some of the dates, the shows we did in 1982, and I just shake my head at some of them and like, wow, because there's so many things. We did, of course, play at La Bamba with the Rats.
We played
1982.
Yeah, I know. Did you play with us on an Argosy cruise ship?
No, but I might have gone on that cruise.
We had a keg there And I found out you shouldn't drink a lot of beer and be on a and try to play. Oh, it was crazy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I went on that cruise. It was, Lake Union and then out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it was just. I was like, wow,
nuts.
how did these guys get to do something like that? And it was, like things were sort of sliding around. It was not like a shoe-in gig.
I know. It was like, I think Brian Fox was trying to be Malcolm McLaren or something, because we were on some of the weirdest things that we were doing. So it was kind of funny.
Right. Just trying to stir up some action for a band.
Yeah.
Where, because it's like playing in the bars, there was just, especially like probably, there wasn't bars to play at. Bars didn't like our kind of music back then.
No, they did not. They didn't think it was, we can't sell a lot of beer to that,
right, which of course that seems weird, with the later 80s and the early 90s when, the similar sort of thing happened, but it totally took over the bars. But back then it was no go. And we were arguably not even old enough yet to get into the bars. So and the people that wanted to go see, Brian probably knew that the people that wanted to go see The Living in 1982 were 18 and 19 years old. So
exactly.
Why keep kicking at booking shows in bars when it's, the bars didn't like it because it was not the right kind of music at the time. And, they'd have to fend off teenagers trying to sneak into the bar because nobody else wanted to go.
Exactly. No doubt. I mean, we even played a show with Husker Du. God, I'm trying to say it's like the 9/11, someplace in Queen Anne. There was some bar there. It was like a little tiny bar, but it was like,
was it Dez's 500, I think.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's it. That's the place.
Yeah.
So I can't even remember the place. So like, half the time it was like I'm stuck in the back door to play, So it's like
I can't even watch Husker Du because because I'm not old enough.
Yeah, so it was kind of funny, all that, and but seeing that video that those guys made with Two Generations Stan I thought that was great. I mean, I thought it brought me right back, I was like, okay, I remember those people. Like, hey, I kind of, it's weird, you fit in, you don't fit in, you don't, like at school, I didn't really fit in at school. Only reason why I was there to play football and stuff. But when I saw Duff and then Chris Utting, I was like, whoa, who are these cats? And then the very talkative Mr. Andy Fortier, ever so confident.
I think Chris Utting could talk a blues streak too, pretty much.
Yes, he could. Yes.
So they were good pairing for a band. The Banes,
they looked the part, so it was kind of fun.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And so that took the pressure off Duff from having to talk much during the Banes shows.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah.
Because the last time that God, we had some bad, some shows that like St. Joe's, and there's like guys in mustaches that were trying to kill punk rockers and stuff like that. And,
was there a St. Joe's? Of course, I remember.
It's that was up in Capitol Hill at some Catholic place.
I totally remember the old this old St. Joe's. In fact, it was December 11th, 1981, with the Silly Killers and the Living and the Fastbacks at St. Joseph's Social Hall.
Oh man.
I have a incomplete list of shows here. So.
Oh, that's great, because I mean, oh man, I knew that we played some shows. There was even in like this other place on Queen Anne, and next thing you know, we get shut down by the police. And luckily, my brother knew one of the police because he was gonna take me away because I wanted to keep on playing, and they like shut the show down. And
I'm not interested in stopping.
Yes. I know. I was not interesting at all. And so, and of course he goes, so he goes, you were gonna arrest your brother, and then my brother goes, no, don't arrest my brother now. Just I'll get him to get off the stage and stuff. So
I'll get your work done. Here, come on, Todd. Time to stop.
Okay, yeah. Always listen. Yeah, so that was kind of funny. It was silly. What a silly time, man. But it was great. God, it was a lot of times it was, I was like, oh, like, wow, this is like just kind of nuts. I mean, like, we went to Iggy Pop show, and like the speakers fell down, and
right at the Eagles.
Yes. And so I was like, some of that stuff just still is vivid in my mind. I was like, God, I was getting crushed, but luckily I was a fairly strong enough individual that I could get myself out of that.
Right, and probably saved somebody else from getting crushed.
I was like, okay, we're gonna get, because I felt just the humanity crushing on you, and then people trying to get out, but you can't because of all the humanity and stuff. So, I mean, I never got to play there, but that would have been, the Hippodrome would have been kind of fun. I think that would have been.
Yeah, I guess we got to play there next year in '83, which, you know, opening for the Ramones, which was,
yeah, God, I remember. Yeah, I mean, Captain Sensible, man.
Oh, at the Eagles, the Damned.
Yeah, yeah.
What a great show.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, wow. And now I saw the Damned not too long ago, and they were fabulous. They were. Yeah, they were
absolutely kill it.
Yeah. So I mean, and then, you know, there was quite a few years I saw the Psychedelic Furs not too long ago, and they remind me why I like music, because these guys were humble. They were thankful that they're fans. They weren't like pompous rock star. Oh, I'm too good for my fans. No,
right, and that was sort of the typical British musician of the time, was pompous and like, oh, well, you know, this is, you know, not good enough for us, so we, you know.
But I thought that seeing people now, they're more appreciative that people are still enjoying their music and stuff, and I like that. I go, you need us as much as we need you to play. So, and that's kind of cool.
One without the other doesn't quite.
Yeah, exactly. And then, you know, this new this revival thing, because I know 10-Minute Warning's going to try to bring out an LP or something, and I know you must have just a ton of material and stuff for your band.
Well, just the last year when everybody's stuck at home, there's a lot of digging through, you know, drawers of tapes and finding reels of tape in the weirdest places. Well, how did this get here? But, you know, I haven't heard this, and, you know, there's a lot of stuff like that, which is super fun. So so when the idea, when the Living 1982 record, you know, starts getting talked about, I was like, wow, it's exactly where I've been, you know, going through all these things in my mind and on the calendars and stuff like that. And I was like, gosh, you know, thinking to myself a bunch of questions like, what was it like going to that recording session for this record? Like, because I never went to that studio, but I believe the Veins recorded their single there.
Yeah, because Chris,
and the Silly Killers recorded their single there.
Yes, and I mean, for a studio, I never been in a studio, but it wasn't really much of a. I think Duff's studio that I saw about a couple months ago, I was like, that's what I pictured a studio.
Oh, right. His place with you know, with a proper control room and a big room and some ISO booths and whatnot.
This was nothing like that. It was basically you think you're like in somebody's garage.
And you probably were in a garage or the
exactly.
Did did you guys just wheel in there at like 10 in the morning or something like that? And just
and we reeled in, and then we like practiced for I think a good month without any vocals. So we were super tight, super ready to go. And then after we did all that, and so I was nervous, but Greg was like, okay, I want microphones and this drums and this. He was like totally like on their ass while making sure everything was mic'd up on it. Mm-hmm. And so, and then, so we had mics, we had all this stuff, and then so we started playing and stuff and got all that stuff down, and then the overdub of Duff's guitar and stuff was happening, and then we did the singing where we all kind of sang together and stuff. It was so weird. It was foreign to me. I mean, I was like, I've never been in the studio before in my life. So
I just picked up a bass, less than a year ago, and here I am.
I know.
And storming band.
And I couldn't even, actually, I think it was Kim or Gary showed me how to do up and down, because I only was going up. I only moved my, I was picking up.
Right. The kind of backwards way that most.
Yes, exactly. Totally, like, because, like, okay, and I was like ripping the strings off the bass half the time. So I was getting the biggest, heaviest gauge, strings I could possibly buy, so I wouldn't break them. But yeah, it was kind of.
Where's your wires for holding up the bridge or whatever?
Yeah, I know. It was crazy. So I had this old Mateo first one, and then Charlie Marinkovich, who plays, I think, for Iron Butterfly or something like that. Now, he took my pickups and then put some other pickups in it, and so the bass sounded pretty good. But then once I got my Fender Precision, that was a reissue of a 57P bass, and I knew I was in love. That was mine. Because like first I wanted to be Al Bloch, and I wanted to have the Rickenbacker, and I go, those things are super expensive. I can't afford one of those. I'm like, no way, And then the Gibson Ripper, I was like, that doesn't have the right look for me right now. So, yeah, I went for the other thing. So worked out good. Yeah.
You could never go wrong with an instrument like that.
Yeah. Oh no, and Duff's playing right now the Fender Jazz, and his
his sort of signature
bass. Yes, exactly. I'll go.
What guitar did Duff play on that recording session? You remember?
He had the Hammer.
Okay, that kind of red.
Yeah, that red Hammer, and so and we bought that for him. I don't know if he had like a SG, a Gibson, like because I don't know if he had an SG before that, but yeah, we got him that.
I remember, and I think Brian Fox sort of spearheaded getting him the Hammer.
Yes, guitar. Exactly.
Because maybe he didn't even have a guitar.
He might not have.
Maybe
he might have borrowed one from you.
From Udding, for sure.
Yeah. Udding had like this other Gibson kind of, this black with a white, I can't remember what it was.
Right, I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. And then Conti had the Esquire, one pickup, D.O.A.
Like Telecaster.
Yeah, kind of Telecaster looking thing.
Right. Everybody, I always thought that guitar was mass cool.
Yeah.
69 Esquire. It's like, whoa, this is rad.
Yeah. So
that I was like, God, that guy's got a cool guitar.
He does have a cool guitar. You bet. And then, once I got once I upgraded, because I was playing out of an acoustic head, and I had like this Vox with a 15 in it, and it buzzed because it sounded so poorly. It was terrible.
It sounded poorly.
That's right. It was poorly. But at least it wasn't stolen. So, I mean, I paid for all my stuff.
So. To say it was not stolen.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Oh man, yeah. So yeah, that's. I mean, just the how things just kind of progressed up so fast. I mean, I was like, wow,
Right. It sort of, it started off pretty good, like you guys did some great shows with Chris on drums.
Yeah.
And, was doing pretty good. Then, then whatever happened, for whatever reason, Udding was out.
Yeah.
And Greg was in, then it just sort of took off musically to one of those kind of bands. Like I always think, and the Living at their best was definitely this kind of band that would just have like the live shows would have like a momentum of their own, it would just like, just almost like people you'd elevate off the ground an inch or two, when the music was just kind of playing itself and just kind of barreling along, and the music, the show had a life of its own, rather than okay, one song, then the next song, then the next song. It just be like that Roscoe Louie Gallery.
I think I remember that show. And once we played Ballroom Blitz, I mean, because Greg perfectly played the intro of Ballroom Blitz.
And Mick Tucker, the sweet drummer, was just like the greatest. And I remember meeting Greg, and I was like, oh, you like Mick Tucker? Yeah. He's like, because nobody ever talked about him as being an actual, like a serious, like the badass musician. And like, oh, you like Bill Bruford and Mick Tucker, and just instantly going off on the killer drummers.
But he didn't like some guy named Pernozzo from Styx. He was like, I don't like that guy. I was like, I don't know much about drummers. I mean, I was like, okay,
And you know what? You know what? That's okay if you don't like the Styx drummer.
We won't hold it again.
Maybe he's a great guy. I don't know. Sit down and hang out.
No, I have no comment. But
no one way or the other.
I know. So and now I like Chicago, and I think their drummer was a really good drummer for Chicago.
Danny Serf.
Yeah.
Absolute killer.
Yeah.
Really, really good. You listen to the first couple of Chicago records are just like, whoa. Then you think about what it was like when those came out, like in 1969, 1970. I mean, they sound daring and killer and cool now. And then you think about 50 years ago, what people must have just, obviously people were blown away because there was so many bands that tried to sound like that instantly at that point.
Exactly. Well, when you had that what's his name, Terry Kath?
Terry Kath.
Baddest guitar player around.
And
I mean, he was Jimi
Hendrix too, just like the most soulful.
Oh, he had the best voice, man. Because when he's saying "I'm the man," Steve Winwood could never keep up with what he was doing. Man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like,
he was
Terry Kath. He's got the best verse. They each take a verse. In Chicago, and Terry Kath verse just it just plays. It's the one.
Now, I always think it'd be kind of cool to play that song though. Get some people out there. Man, it'd be so much fun. But did you guys ever do like Sub Pop thing or anything like that? Shows or anything like that?
We did some Sub Pop showcases.
In the I thought you did, but it's like, you guys were playing, in Japan, so
right, and we were sort of lucky to have 2 decades of attempts. I'm not saying that we succeeded in either of them, but in as far as music goes, we succeeded highly.
By far.
But by the end of the 80s, I would say drugs and alcohol sort of took their toll on some crucial members, and by the end of 1988, we were dead, like gone. And and then somehow we got a second chance in 1990 to get back together, and that's not something that happens very often.
No. Well, I mean, I think Aerosmith would be if it wasn't for rap music, they probably never would have got back onto the track.
Oh yeah, they had some success.
Walk This Way,
right. It's
by Run DMC, and so breathe some new life into them. But yeah, no, see, that's the deal. That's what stopped me from playing, is there was something happened and my equipment kind of disappeared from the practice spot, and then I just went, dude, I got to find a new direction. So
I got to find a new direction that doesn't include scumbags.
So, shit happens, and, but I'm really, now I can look back at everything with quite fondness and going, wow. I mean, there was one time when we were up in Canada, right? I slept with newspapers in Joey Shithead's house, because that was my blanket. We had like newspapers, and then he took me, and I don't know who else was with me, but they took us to this O'Keefe's brewery with bolt cutters, and we cut the bolts, and then we're stealing beers and stealing cases of beer. I was laughing so hard and going, oh yeah, we could go to jail, but I'm laughing. And then Ron from Black Flag we met up with that guy. And
right. He, of course, lived in Vancouver at that time, and was our buddy up there, and
and we were just kids. I was like, I'm on for the ride, going, oh my God.
Right. And of course you're in Vancouver, and you've had some beers, you've had some drinks, and you just, you sort of think you're invincible. It's like, nothing can really happen to me. So I'm with some Canadians, and we're cutting the fence of a brewery to steal some beers. Like, what could go wrong there?
What could go wrong there? I know, it was just like, you look back.
We need these beers.
Yes, we need beer. And so it's like, oh man, that's crazy. And that Robson Street is nothing like it was back then. Now it's like, ooh, scary.
I've just been up there a couple times in the last few years.
Yeah.
What's the name of the joint there? The theater. Crap. But yeah, it is a little on the scary side.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the last time I was down at Portland, I went to Voodoo Donuts, because my daughter said she had to go to Voodoo Donuts. Mm-hmm. And so we did, and I had to jump over a lot of people to get there. They were waiting on the streets.
To get your bacon.
That's right. That's right. Bacon maple bar. Yeah.
Rickshaw Theater, I think that's.
Yeah. Oh yes, indeed.
Wow. It's and so, do you remember what the last show you did with the Living was?
Man, it's either was Monroe's Dance Palace or Roscoe Louie's. Gotta be.
Oh really? Okay, because I mean, I have both of those shows on my list. On my list here. Monroe's Dance Palace was June 19th. That says the 12th here, but I talked to Joey Shithead earlier today, and he had the poster, and it's clearly
nice.
June 19th.
How is Joey? Is he doing well?
Oh, he's doing great. He was it was his second Zoom meeting of the day, and he was on his way. He was on his way down to the Burnaby City Council to have a meeting with some people down there.
And
then the Roscoe Louie Gallery was July 30th of 1982.
Wow, God, man!
And it was, and of course, both of those shows were just on fire, storming, great, great shows. But so it's really hard to imagine, like what was going through everyone's head to think of, you just killed it, you just nailed it, and then it's like, now what?
We tried to get some shows in Canada, like really far up there. and so I took the seats out of my back of my car, and we're going, okay, we're able to do this. And God, I cannot remember what, but then things just started going south. And then we just had disagreements on the path, and he was becoming more and more, let's just say that we were difficult. We were not, everyone weren't seeing eye to eye. And so when he kind of left the group or got asked to leave, that's when it just kind of went.
Yeah, I don't think you get asked to leave a group.
Yes.
You're told to leave or you quit. It's like,
most definitely. I know, and you know, I talked to him on Saturday, right? And he was really upbeat, and he was really happy about that this is going on. And I was happy. I go, good. I'm glad you're happy. I want you to be happy. So
right. I mean, that, you know, that's why everybody plays music, and you know, with the benefit of 40 years hindsight.
I know. And you know, I'm going, well, maybe would be a cherry on the top to make it into EMP, you know, with all the other Northwest bands, you know, that'd be kind of cool. So, you know, I mean, because, you know, they always say that we're a lost band, but I don't know if we were lost. We just stopped, you know, I don't know. But I mean, it was a fun ride, that's for sure. But
it was a killer band. I mean, if there's so many other bands that, you know, either played some shows and didn't record anything.
Yes, exactly.
You know, it's just, that's why I was asking about that recording session.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even remember. Do you remember who paid for it? Maybe Brian paid for it.
I have no idea.
You know, because of course nobody had any money around
that.
I mean, you didn't make any money playing shows.
No, not at all. And that's why I can't remember that. There was, I think we have some live recordings still in somebody's can from the racks. And
I think I might have the original tape.
And then
I might have two living tapes.
And then there should be one from Harvard Exit. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
After this Beatles show or in between.
Oh, right. They were playing Beatles movies or something.
Yeah, some kind of deal. Okay. So yeah, I know. And man, I was so nervous. Some of those shows, I was like, just going, wow, you know. And then I didn't realize that a lot of people can't hear all the mistakes that are made. So I'm like, they don't know. So that's okay.
But it's also people, you know, people that go to see a rock show, and of course I see both sides of it from myself and watching other bands.
Yeah.
You know, people don't go to count mistakes. They go to have a good time and count the triumphs. They you know, if you had a scorecard at a show, every time something happens that's absolutely killer, you know, you get one thing in it. But if somebody plays a wrong note once and goes to the right note, that doesn't take any things off it.
No,
you know,
I know,
as long as everybody's having a good time.
Exactly. And that's, you know, I didn't get once Chris wasn't in the band, I was able to relax a little more because he was really like very critical on Duff and I. So I was like going crazy. But I mean, he made me better player and stuff, but it's not much fun when you feel like you're under the gun, you know, the whole time. It's like,
right. Somebody's leaning on you. I mean, you know, and you know, back then I was probably mean to my bandmates too.
Yeah.
I probably still am. But at some point you got to just assume that people are going to do the best they can and they care and that they're going to put their best foot forward and just celebrate that, and don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about what you're doing and try to make that the best you can.
You bet. No doubt. And the list of people that you have been blessed to like share the stage with is probably, I mean, a lot of people won't ever do it. And maybe none of these people are superstars or they didn't make a lot of money, but they're, fun as musicians and stuff. And
people, make great music,
Yeah.
I mean, if I look back at things that I got to do, it's like, holy crap, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I know. And so I didn't even think, this is going on right now. And I'm going, wow. I mean, and then all these people going, wow, it's so cool. And I'm going, back then, a lot of people didn't think it was that cool. They were going, oh.
Well, but there again, most people didn't even get to hear it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because unless you were of our age, right around our age, you wouldn't have been in the same places that music was happening.
No doubt.
And not everybody, like you can't fault people who aren't there. Like,
no,
the people who were there and had a good time, they got to see something special.
Oh no doubt. And so I mean, I'm going, wow, we had some really killer shows, and then the adrenaline and the rush of playing a show that was so good. I mean, it would take 100 beers to make me calm down after some of that stuff, because it was so invigorating. I mean, having people like what you do is amazing.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the Living 1982 podcast. Circle back for weekly episodes and find out about each week's special guests and where to stream the music by following the band's release on Instagram at The Living 1982.